Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what lessons are found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to 2 lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that's digging through the dumpster fire of 2020 for signs of any gay silver linings.
Any gays? Any gay happiness here in this fire?
Gay joy to be found. We're going to find it. We're going to dig it out for
We
you.
will.
From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, especially this year, thank you as always for listening. And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. We, of course, have our trivia nights coming up. Our next trivia will be Schitt's Creek Trivia, March 25th and March 27th. You can find those on our Facebook and Eventbrite pages. We also, for my other podcast, Sweet Bitter, are having a really exciting event. It's called Lesbos Got Talent. It's going to be March 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free. It's hosted by Regis University, and we're going to have some of the best Sappho scholars. We're going to have Jade Esteban Estrada there. He is a Sappho impersonator. So he dresses up as Sappho. He does this thing called The Lesbian and Gay History of the World, and he acts as a bunch of different people. So he's done like Oscar Wilde, Virginia Woolf, and Sappho. So we're going to have him come as Sappho. Very, very exciting. You can find that on Sweet Bitter's Facebook as well. So hope to see some of you there.
We also want to remind anyone who maybe hasn't seen on all of our social medias lately that the song, our Teenage Bounty Hunters song that we wrote called I Want More, starring your own Ellie Brigida and Devin Hale.
Oh, I got higher billing?
With her buttery angel voice, is available on Bandcamp. So if you just need to listen to it like endlessly over and over again for hours, you could go pick it up for as low as $1, and that would make us super happy and also would help fund our musical, The Flame, that we are still actively working on, that's coming out this summer, and you know, maybe future musicals after that. Who knows? Who knows what's cooking?
In the greater Les universe, Jessica Nicole has just been cast in the new Punky Brewster, and she will be playing Punky's best friend's girlfriend. So Punky Brewster is about to get gay with Jessica Nicole. I'm so excited.
There is no better news, I believe.
No. Jessica, get in touch with us. Let's do a Punky Brewster should have been gay.
Please.
I'm so down for that. Also, Rose Rollins, who played Tasha in The L Word, is going to be starring in a gay women's basketball series on BET. What is in the water right now, and why are they giving us so many gifts?
Right? This is very much one of those if God hates the gays, why do we keep winning situations?
Exactly. Yeah.
With that, that's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee, and welcome everyone to episode 13 of season 4. It is 2020V.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, was that work? That's good.
It totally works, yes.
Everyone got psh. See what I did there?
I'll add the sound effects later.
Okay, great.
We all know 2020 has been a shit year. However, there have been some positives, and we're going to try to go through that. And one of the big positives, I would say, is there has been a lot of queer relationships portrayed on our televisions.
It's just a lot this year, like hard to keep up with, honestly, even for us like professional queers. It's been a lot.
Exactly. And I'm really happy about it. We're doing our best to watch all of it, and still half the stuff that's out we haven't even seen yet. So it's pretty cool.
But we're trying. We're trying for all of you because we care.
I know. But it also it makes me happy because I remember the time when I was in college and I was looking at horrible Netflix films because there were only like 4 lesbian movies you could even watch. And then I was like, oh, I guess I'm done. So yeah. I feel very grateful that we have all of this content.
It is a wildly different experience to even where we were when we started this podcast, and the type and amount of queer content that was out there, and how much more you had to dig for it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of positives, some less than positives. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it.
This is basically Lee and Ellie have some feelings, and we're just going to throw our feelings at each other's faces for a bit. What do you think?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I think other people are going to like hearing about this too, because people have been asking us. A lot of people have been reaching out on social media being like, hey, can you cover this TV show? Can you cover this show? Can you cover this show? Because there's so much happening. Yeah. So we decided we'd try to talk about as much of it as we could in one episode. So here we are. And I think we're going to try to, correct me if I'm wrongly, we're going to try to keep it concise. And we're
so good at that. Yeah, that's like our strongest thing that we ever do is be so concise.
We're going to do our best. But let's talk a little bit about the queer relationships that have been depicted in some of the shows that have come out in 2020. And I know this first one, so it technically started in 2019, but it did go through 2020. And Lee...
So it's fair game.
It's fair game. You very recently finished Generation Q. Am I correct? Are we right?
Look, it took me a while. I had to loop back around and finally watch all of it. I did finally finish recently.
I'm so proud of you.
I have watched the season, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. Because here's what's funny. Coming at this now, compared to the place where we were a year ago when, like, Generation Q was just getting released, right? And I remember the lead up. I remember when it was announced. I remember when they started making the casting announcements. I remember, the hugely prevalent discourse about the issues that had existed in the original show.
Yeah.
And there are ways in which I still love Generation Q in the same way that I still nostalgically love the L Word, even though it is its own little bit of a dumpster fire in a lot of ways. There's also, I just have a lot of issues with it still, and they are issues that were present in the first show.
Hit me with them.
I think they're interesting in the context of comparing it to the other stuff that's on our TVs these days. Yes. That you didn't have the option to do the first time around. Like when the first L Word aired, you were not going to sit down and compare the L Word in the mix of 20 other shows or movies and dissect its relationships against other relationships and what they're portraying.
But we're going to do that now.
We're going to do it now. And that's why. Because we can.
So let's talk about it. What do you think? What are the issues you have with it? And what are the big... Okay. Like, where are we going to compare? I want to hear
Here's my big problem. My big problem is I came away from the season of Generation Q feeling like my biggest question is the L Word a reason that queer people don't know how to have relationships?
That's a huge question.
Correctly.
And
it is.
I mean, I would venture to say the L Word mixed with pretty much most queer content we've ever seen is a big reason why queer people have difficult times in healthy relationships. Yes.
Yes.
So talk to me about what you saw in Generation Q.
There's a lot of things. Let's start with one.
I'm ready.
Let's start with one, which is the L Word has never been a real show that highlights, and Generation Q isn't either, a show that highlights communication, right? In ways that I find problematic. And that I think I was willing to let slide, a decade ago when it was a different landscape. And you were just happy that you were seeing a show chock full of queer people actually having queer sex and living unapologetic lives. And so you were like, it's fine. Like, they're all supposed to be young and stupid and we'll just let it go, you know?
Yes.
Or just go along for the ride. I feel like now, when you can compare Generation Q and the ways that their characters learn to navigate their relationships and communicate with each other to shows like, we didn't even write it down, but I know it was this year, One Day at a Time. Let's compare how Elena and Sid communicate with each other in their relationship to like these high schoolers to any characters.
So
in Generation Q.
I'm like, are you talking about the poly triad? Are you talking about the cheating?
No, you know what's funny is
what are you talking
the poly
about?
triad I actually thought came closest to being able to like communicate with each other. And I am so still disappointed that they didn't, because I was rooting for the throuple so hard. I loved them so much and I'm never going to be over it, but that's not the point. The point is they came close, but they still didn't quite make it. They don't listen. They don't say what they mean. They don't know how to like communicate with each other. And it's just never really touched on as a key core problem in their relationships, right? And I understand it is a show that is driven by drama. They want drama. I mean,
you have to think of the L Word in Generation Q as like soap opera.
Yes. But my goal is not to come on here and shit on Generation Q for the next hour. That's not
fine,
what I want to do.
I mean,
I just think that the L Word in general holds this place of, it is a revered show in the community still, even with the issues that its predecessor had, you know, that I think a lot of people look to it as being like the most real depiction of lesbians and queer women and all this stuff. And that's hard for me. It's hard for me to look at that as a role model when I don't think anything in there is healthy.
Yes.
Characters don't have healthy relationships. When I watched it in college, I think I felt differently than now, where I'm like, you know, Schitt's Creek gave us a healthy, committed, communicating relationship where the drama in their relationship was usually external, or if it was internal, that they were able to resolve it via communicating with each other.
Yes.
You know? Seeing these relationships from the perspective of me in my life now, where I'm like, hey, I'm married in a stable relationship. And then you watch Generation Q, and I'm like, where am I in there?
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's actually because I'm watching it in a different spot in my life than you. And so it actually is really interesting to look at it because, okay, obviously, right, Nat and Alice are supposed to be really like their adult relationship, I guess, right? And it obviously was fraught with some shit. I wish they still stayed in the poly triad, to be honest. Oh my God, I would have just loved it.
Who doesn't?
If they just stayed in the poly triad and they communicated and they like moved forward as this like healthy poly triad raising these kids. I mean, obviously that's not you seeing yourself represented. However, but I think it would be closer even.
Yeah.
Because there would be like this actual relationship that feels stable. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, there was not one stable relationship in the entire show.
There was not a single stable relationship. And it's not only was there a single stable relationship, the thing that I think hurt me more this time around, that I had less of a hard time with in the first show, is I don't even feel like these characters were good friends to each other this time around. And I didn't necessarily always feel that way, like in the first series, you know? Sometimes, sure.
Yes.
But not always, consistently, time and time again, just watching these characters going, why? What? Who? What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Besides the fact that you don't know how to be in a relationship or communicate with the person that you're in a relationship with, like, you're not even being good friends. Like, I have a lot of issues with Finley as a character, you know? It's hard to me when you take a character who's being written to be deep down a good person. And I watched the whole show and I was like, are you, though?
Yeah.
Like, you had so many opportunities to just make any better decisions and just be a good supportive friend to the people that you're supposed to care about, and you just failed time and time again.
True.
Why am I supposed to be rooting for you, you know? Why am I supposed to be rooting for Sophie? Why would I be rooting for Danny? Who am I supposed to be rooting for in here? It was just
It's very
hard.
difficult. I think this is a good spot to pivot a little bit to an issue that I have with queer media in general pre-2020, which is, I think, an excessive emphasis on cheating.
Yes.
Excessive.
Yes.
And I understand, obviously, that cheating is a part of the human experience. It's obviously something that
we should say it like that every time. Cheating.
It is something that happens, but I do think the more you see it in queer media, it feels normalized. I mean, it happens many times where it's cheating on the husband, cheating on the boyfriend. Now, we're moving past that, and they're not cheating on their boyfriend. They're cheating on their girlfriend or their wife. Oh, cool.
Progress, Ellie, progress.
Yeah, great. Oh, that's so exciting. But yeah, I definitely take issue with that as a consistent storyline, because I do think, as you're saying, what is it teaching queer people who watch it?
Yeah. And not just, I agree, because cheating is I have a huge issue with how much it is prevalent in media in a general sense. I also, especially with the L word, there's this way that the L word did originally and does again in Generation Q, treat sexual attraction as
uncontrollable.
Yes,
yeah.
This completely
don't get me started.
What is that?
Unavoidable.
I have never seen that. That is just, these characters are physically powerless to not have sex with each other all the time at their jobs at random hours of the day, and you're just guys, you are adults. You are at your place of employment, and you somehow literally cannot keep your clothes on your body and not have sex with your best friend that you are not engaged to. What?
Yes.
On what planet is that a normal thing? And I think these days, again, it is harder for me to give them the pass on that when there are so many other portrayals of relationships out there that are not as hypersexualized, problematic. You're supposed to be adults, I'm I don't know, the idea that I would just show up at work and fuck my best friend on a couch, I'm that just feels weird.
Like I said, the L word, Generation Q, if you take it for what it is, which is literally upscale lesbian porn, then yes,
it is, and
people want to see those dirty sex scenes.
Yes. And it's not I hate the sex scenes. I'm here for the sex scenes. It's just, there's a point at which I'm also maybe you could give me a sex scene where it's just, hey, here's someone and their wife, and they want to do it.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. I'm up for that, It's just every time I feel there's this way that they fetishize cheating, that they fetishize the taboo, weird daytime public sexual encounters that you're just I feel that's not the only thing to queer relationships, And it's not you can't do it, or I think you shouldn't do it. It's just, I noticed it so much more this time around that's all there is. And it's hard sometimes when that's everything is that. And I just want to see something else.
Okay, we're going to take the formula from the L word, and we are going to have trans actors in it, and we are going to have people of color in it, but it's still the same.
Right. It's the
formula.
same. It's the same problems. It's the same decisions. It's the same. Yeah, it just, but it's different now. The thing is, if you're going to do the same formula that you did years and years and years ago, it's not keeping up with the times, I think, in a lot of ways. And that surprised me, I think that surprised me, because when you look at so many of the other shows, and especially, I get to a certain extent, we're going to compare it to a lot of things that are younger demographics. Obviously, when you watch, Teenage Bounty Hunters, or you watch One Day at a Time, or you watch Motherland, or, even The Wilds to a certain extent, which, sure, it had its own sex scenes and stuff in it, but it's just, you're not expecting your upscale porn.
Yes, yes.
It's a different, there are network TV shows featuring, characters who are supposed to be high schoolers, and you're gonna get, a slightly different
take, yes.
Different take on it, fine.
But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that 2020 TV did Right. Because you're right. We don't want to spend the whole time talking about Generation Q.
No, I don't. And Generation Q is far from the only thing that I think had problematic elements to it. You know, like, obviously, I mean, Happiest Season, we've talked a lot about.
Yeah, we know.
The
we know.
reasons that it was problematic. I think She-Ra is like an underdog to me on the having problematic things in it, just because there's a lot that you have to like gloss over for Catra as a character to like really be rooting for them. I'm like, this is a toxic relationship.
I think it's
here.
also like the fact I think this is such a thing, a media thing. And that's why I feel like taking media as a guideline or like a rule book for relationships should never really be the thing, because good TV is dramatic.
Yes.
Good relationships are not.
Yes, that is true.
Are not TV drama.
But there are ways in which if you want to do the enemies to lovers trope the way She-Ra did, there are ways in which you can redeem your character, I think, a little bit more than just sort of like, they're together now, and you're like, oh, are we just
glossing over everything? I mean,
no?
Yeah.
Okay. It's cool. And even, it's funny because Adora is like the least of my problems in that show. I'm like, I like how Glimmer is just, we're besties now. It's cool that you killed my mom. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine? That's okay now? Okay, that's cool. Am I still a Glibadora shipper? Maybe. Who knows? The point is, you know, still some stuff that you see that is like not the best role model, maybe, to put out there. And yes, I think there are a lot of things that we could talk about that were better relationships, or at least better portrayals of things. So what do we want to start with? Because we do have.
Also, as I'm looking at this, I'm like, better ? Because most of the things on here have a lot of toxic relationships. Okay, so I'm like, oh, we're gonna say Motherland's better. When literally,
okay, yeah, there's problems. There's
the
problems
main
there
ship
too.
Is like somebody.
But here's the thing. But Motherland, I think, is a great example of like enemies to lovers. They have their problems. Scylla certainly has her problems, but I think they're making her a more redeemable character, right?
Yes.
Like giving you more information about where Scylla is coming from, why she made the decisions that she's making, how she is wrestling with the choices that she made now that she is realizing some of the, you know,
very real feelings that she has
of those.
Yes.
And it's not like they are just immediately writing it off, right? Like, I think that is actually a great sort of counter example to what we were just talking about with She-Ra. I mean, it's not that you have to have, and we talked about this at the end of the last season, like, it's not like you have to have characters who are perfect, who have no problems, who have no conflict,
are only
who have
good.
no drama. I just worry sometimes about, now that we're seeing a lot more of this, a lot more types of depictions of queer characters and especially like queer women in our shows, what are the models that we're putting out there, you know? Because it's funny, it's the same way that, like, do you ever go back and you watch, you know, the 80s hits, the early 90s hits, and you're just like, wow, is this why straight people don't know how to have relationships? Like,
oh, yes.
Because they're all horrible, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like now we're hitting, like, that era of queer media for ourselves, and I'm like, oh, good, are we going to create, like, a whole generation of queers who, like, don't know how to have a relationship because they never see it, and if all you have is, like, one Schitt's Creek, they'll just never...
Yeah, also, what do you mean we're, like, done with that era of straight people not seeing toxic relationships on TV? I don't, like, this is not...
They were worse. Like, the late 80s, early 90s movies,
I know,
like, that era of what they considered romantic storylines was horrible.
Yes.
I mean, horrible. Like, it was just, like, toxic, gaslighting, like, really bad examples of what women were supposed to be looking for in a guy.
Yes, let's talk about romance. Killing Eve. What should you look for in a woman? Oh,
just a real model to look up to.
She should kill your best friend, and then you're going to be in love with her.
At least your boss, you know? I mean, I think that's the real takeaway here. Stop trying to point out that everything's terrible, Ellie. That's not...
No, I mean, but I actually think that's like
point.
such a valid point of, are we in the like the same way that we as queer people experience puberty later, are we now experiencing like this like different type of media later?
Yeah.
But it's still sort of the same. They're just taking the tropes that they've done with straight relationships and throwing them on queer ones. But I don't know. It's hard. Like, even still, I'm like looking at this list. I'm like, okay, so like Umbrella Academy had a queer relationship, right? And that was also a cheating thing. Yep. Let me count the ways.
Okay, hold on. Here, how about this? We're going to take a hot break. We're going to hear from some sponsors. We're going to come back and see if we can find any positive role models to look for in our 2020 media, okay?
Got it.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/leshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/leshangout.
Let's hang out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Maybe let's come at this from a different perspective. Let's try to find... We started out saying we're going to dig through for the gay silver linings, right?
You're right.
So maybe what we should do is, instead of picking out all the really problematic things that are just going to show up in the drama of media...
You're correct.
What are the things that did have...
interesting and positive queer media?
Yes. Or at least think, like... the grains that you can pull out of this is something to notice and strive for when you see yourself represented on screen.
Yes.
Right? So if we come at it from that perspective, what do we have?
Okay, so actually, now that I'm thinking of it, let's talk about Bly Manor.
Yes.
Because I actually do think was pretty positive. They had this one conversation that I loved where they talked about love and ownership.
Mm-hmm.
How can you confuse love and ownership? Like, they're not the same thing or whatever. You can't love someone and own them. I was like, like, they're, and obviously it's like depressing because we all know what happens. But it's almost, I want to say it's like The Notebook, but I'm like, honestly, The Notebook's toxic. God damn it.
The Notebook is toxic. It's bad, yeah.
But
I don't think Bly Manor was toxic.
I don't think it was either. It was actually like a really nice love story between two women who like truly really cared about each other and saw each other through some rough stuff
And made good choices.
Yes.
Right? And here's the other problem. I'm just gonna shit on Finley again. I'm so sorry.
God damn it. You're also wearing a shirt that Finley would wear. Like, I'm looking
Oh my god, I really am actually like very I've got like a Finley look going on. But here's the problem. It's not like I hate Finley as a character. I just don't think Finley's a good friend or a good partner. And let me tell you what, Finley would not have ended up at the bottom of that lake.
No.
Like, Finley would not choose the safety and well-being, I think, over the allure of having the relationship for longer, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes Danny in Bly Manor such a compelling queer character to me, is that at the end of the day, yes, I get the whole is it a barrier gaze discussion, fine, it's a gothic horror and who isn't dead in that series, but she made the right choice based on how she felt for Jamie, right?
Yes, because
like, she chose the safety.
Happiness and safety mattered more than like selfishly holding on to that person and maybe hurting them.
And that's a beautiful choice. And it's why people keep coming back. Like, how many times have you seen someone being like, oh, queuing up the finale of Bly Manor for the upteenth time and sobbing through it? But I think it's because there is something that we are drawn to about seeing that, about seeing somebody who loves the person that they're with that much to choose that, right? Like, it does. It hits you differently than, say, fucking up your friend's engagement by having sex with them at your job. You know, it's just a little different sometimes.
And it is. Like I said, and like, they're faithful to each other through the whole thing. We don't have any cheating. Like, they live in this domestic bliss where, like, they live together and
they've
like,
got a flower shop.
They have a flower
together.
shop. I know. Give us that Imagine Me and You callback any day. It is. It feels like the drama is all external for them because it's a gothic horror, right?
Yes.
The relationship is dramatic because they're living in a haunted house.
The conflict is, freaking ghosts everywhere, like, fucking shit up. Yeah, it's fine.
But, like, the two of them, cool. Everything's fine.
They're solid.
Yeah.
They're solid.
Yeah.
Just those damn ghosts.
But that's what I want is, okay, give us some external drama. Give us some ghosts.
Give us more ghosts. Just throw ghosts in your show.
Give us some old ladies, like, waiting for their love until they turn gray and old. Like, also it's so dramatic and gay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're cute. They communicate well.
And I love them. Is that what the takeaway
And we love
here
them.
is? And we love them.
But that's a
Okay.
big silver lining.
Another silver lining for me that I do have to, I mean, again, yes, there are problematic elements, but Teenage Bounty Hunters, The Wilds, Motherland, I love the shift that we're seeing in having queer teenage characters who are like so confident and self-assured,
Yes.
many of whom are already out when the series starts. Like, you're not watching their coming out journey. It is just, this is who I am, and they know it and they're cool with it. That is something that is a huge positive takeaway to me of like where we are at in representation these days. You know, it's like, yes, I understand, like, you are still gonna have your Shelby storylines, and I think that's fine. It's fun to see it not be the only thing. You know?
Also, can we talk about the Shelby storyline really quickly? Because
Yes.
I have seen some people on the Twitterverse attacking other people, basically being like, oh, you sympathize with Shelby, but not Harper. And comparing the two. And I just feel...
wow, really? I somehow have missed all of that.
I just feel like I want to talk about that and the distinction. And also the fact that I also think what Shelby did to her friend was also messed up.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And
Here's
so,
a huge distinction for me. Shelby's 17.
a child. Yes.
Like, it's the one thing that I love about The Wilds is actually, like, when Kelsey and I watched it, what was really refreshing was to watch the show, and every single time that we would have a moment where we're like, oh my god, why is she, like, whichever character, any character, why is she doing that? They're 17.
Yes.
Of course they're doing that. Of course that's how you would have thought about this problem or situation or fight or whatever when you were 17. I do think that they actually wrote their teenagers very well, because and again, it's such an easy way to allow yourself to have imperfect characters, because let's be real, we were all slightly disasters
When we were 17, yes.
Like, who
Yes.
wasn't, you know?
And
Who
this is a
wasn't?
17-year-old girl who lives in like, her father is the pastor.
Yeah.
You see a conversation with her father where he basically is like, if you are gay, like, you are not my daughter.
Right.
I don't even think we need to do apples to oranges, but like that, yes. I mean, we talk about this a lot. We are not saying no coming out stories ever.
No, never.
We're just
I
saying,
would never say that. I love coming out stories.
can we have other stories in addition to?
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about The Wilds is you do have Tony's character who is out, openly gay.
And who is problematic in her own ways.
Yes. And who has very unhealthy relationships,
Oh, God,
obviously,
yes.
an unhealthy, like, relationship with herself and anger and all this kind of stuff. But she's a 17-year-old girl, and, like, she's figuring out, hopefully, how to... I actually read this... The Wilds is so good. I read another tweet that was talking about how they think the common thread between all the girls on the island is that they all struggle with control in some way. And so Tony's is, like, controlling her emotions and her anger. You know, Shelby is, like, fighting for control of her own sexuality.
Leah's obsessive.
Yeah, like, control in, like, her relationships. Like, everyone is... And I think that's also just, like, human beings, but also 17-year-old girls who,
God, yes.
feel out of control constantly.
One other quick thing that I have to say real quick, if we're going to hit the Harper Shelby, one other distinction that I would draw between them is, again, I don't think that Shelby has been set up as a character who is immediately like, and now you're redeemed and we love you and we're rooting for you. Like, Shelby is still a problematic character who is on a journey
Yes.
to being redeemed in some ways that we are not at the end of. You know, again, like, our issues with Harper are not all just about Harper's actions and what she did in the movie. It's also the way that they resolve the conflict of Harper's actions by
Glossing over
ignoring
them.
it.
Yeah.
That's a big difference to me. Okay, so while we're bringing up Happiest Season again, can I have another silver lining for me?
Yes.
That we haven't talked about yet, which is I Hate New Year's. Let's talk about I Hate New Year's real quick, because if anyone hasn't watched it yet, it's Tello's holiday movie that came out this year, and I loved it so much. And here's why is... I mean, Ellie knows this about me. As a person who has always deeply been the stupid lesbian who, like, you know, when I came out and had a crush on my best friend and she was into some dude, what did I do?
Set her up with the dude.
Set her up with the dude. There is something deeply relatable about watching a movie that at its core is about like a girl who's in love with her best friend, but her best friend is like chasing her ex, and she's great. Let's go all around the entire town
And I'll help you.
And I'm going to help you find this girl, even though I had decided that I was going to tell you how I felt tonight. And it's cute. It's a cute story, and it's not problematic. It's not a coming out story. It's, the tension is, there is conflict, but it is understandable conflict. It is conflict that gets resolved in a satisfying way by the end of the movie, and they end up together. And, like, that to me, I was like, yes,
it's like a hug.
You.
It's just like a warm hug of a movie.
It really was. And I enjoyed that. And I get that sometimes you just want to watch a dumpster fire, and that's fine. Like, I do too. Of course, we loved watching Generation Q, even though I have a lot of problems with it. But sometimes if you just want to watch something where you're like, hey, here's all these issues that I'm having with a lot of representation, I felt like I Hate New Year's avoided pretty much all of them for me. So that was like another bright spot of the year.
Success. Let's talk a little bit about, because I just feel like it's unavoidable in this year. Let's talk a little bit about all of the period pieces we've been getting.
Okay, look, here's what I have to say. I feel like we have these two camps, right? We have, it's not indie, but I'm going to say we have a lot of the more shows, either the TV shows or the smaller indie movies, right? Like, you're going to get the Hulu making Happiest Season. You're going to get Tello making I Hate New Year's. Then you have your box office queer movies, and not a nary a one set after 1820, right? I mean,
yes. Oh my God.
We are digging deep into the period pieces lately, and which is, again, not a bad thing. We loved many of them, but it is a noticeable pattern that feels like a choice, right?
Yes. Do we not exist after 1820?
Like, lesbians just went out of style in the late 19th century.
Yes. I mean, obviously we love Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Like, I watched Dickinson. I don't know if you saw it, Lee.
I haven't yet. I've seen so many clips and GIFs.
I mean, I thought it was, like, I think it's great. I love the show. Yeah. I have yet to see Ammonite, and it's, like, really high on my list, and I haven't seen it yet. I know it's probably a good movie, but it was almost like when...
But you just get tired.
I was tired. Yeah, I was tired. Like, I was like, am I going to have to watch another movie where, they're staring at each other on the beach, and then,
longing glances.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're going to have sex.
Maybe
better take off the
they have
petticoats
sex,
you're wearing.
You don't see anything. You know what I mean?
You don't see anything, and it's hidden under 4 skirts and like a corset, and I mean, it's...
I have heard that they have a good sex scene in it, though, so I do want to watch it, but... It's just because also the thing is with a period piece, okay, where we're like, oh, no coming out stories. With a period piece, you're never going to have, not never. It is difficult to have that period piece be a story about gay love and acceptance.
Yeah.
Because it's a period piece, and we know at that time period that was not accepted. So, going into it, it's going to be like secret love. Blah, blah, blah. And it's
forbidden love. Yeah. Impossible love. Yeah, we all know it going in. And when you're going to watch them,
into it,
you make your peace with that. You know it ahead of time. I agree. But it is just funny, like, the amount of them recently, because even the favorite was the year before, I think. But it's just like, there's this trend right now where it's like, big name straight actresses playing the period piece lesbian for their Oscar, and you're like, okay.
I know. Also, okay. I'm like, okay, but also take my money. But it's just, I don't know what it is.
That's always us.
Well, because we literally did 2 Les Centrals on these. Like, we've done it on The Favorite, and we did one on Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and Colette. Clearly, we like them.
Yeah.
But it also is, I don't know why. The 4th one, no. 3, yes. 4, I'm done. Like,
and I think, again, like, that's why some of the disappointment with Happiest Season is we just wanted our rom-com, like, we just wanted finally, like, our modern day rom-com, give it to me, just one, and instead we were all subjected to this, like, just hour and a half of, like, straight trauma, just fine. But
speaking of joy/trauma, let's talk about The Prom.
Okay. Oh, God.
Because,
oh, God.
I have such conflicting feelings about The
Who
Prom.
came up with the idea for this episode, Ellie? What is this nonsense?
I'm so excited. It's honestly the best. This is just Lee and I talking, and we put microphones in front of us for tonight, which is every Monday. We'll see you here next week. But let's talk about the prom. I cried. I was happy.
But you hated it?
But I also, I didn't hate it. It's hard.
You know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
But I
didn't hate it either, but also I hated it.
It did also just feel traumatic. The story itself is from 2010. And so to me, the film felt like this is high school from 2010.
Yeah.
But we're trying to depict it as high school now. Honestly, I hope high school now isn't like this. But I also feel like media has a responsibility to be the high school that you want high school to be. If that makes sense. And I get that by the end, you're like, oh, they had the prom and now everyone's fine. But it's a similar thing to the Happiest Season where like the redemption arc came with no work. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of films that are like designed to make straight people feel good about themselves. Of I'm not as bad as that person, or even if I was as bad as that person, then I'll be forgiven immediately because that's how it always works.
What it does is it makes stories not resonate with queer people, because that's the only problem I had with it. I didn't hate it. I mean, really, I didn't. What I hated is the fact that you watch it and you're like, that's cool, but that's no one's life. That's no queer person's life. Like, nothing about this resonates like as an authentic story to tell, right? Because whether you come at it from the perspective of Alyssa's story, which again, I mean, similar issues to Happiest Season, which is like when you are that afraid of your very staunchly, openly homophobic mother, they don't come around in 20 minutes.
Yes.
You know? Like, they don't show up at the prom to dance with you and sing with you and support you. That's not real.
But I think that's sort of what I'm talking about. It's hard because yes, that's not real, right? But if people see that, would it become real for more people? Not the forgiveness, but the coming around. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the intention. I don't
know, but you can't do one and gloss over the other.
Yes,
you know, like that's the problem. Is like you can't just even if you try to look at it from the perspective of like maybe if more parents see this, they would be willing to change their tune faster. It still glosses over like the enduring trauma and lack of trust and like toxic situation that they have put their kids in for like years and years and years, and you can't gloss over that, right? Because like you're not gonna have a healthy relationship with each other anymore. The other thing that killed me in the prom is I just had such a hard time watching Emma watch that happen, right? Alyssa's mom, Mrs. Green, shows up and Alyssa's, my mom is here, and they're like so happy and they hug, and then they like cut the camera over to Emma, who was just standing there with this beaming smile on your face, and you're like, you live with your grandmother because your parents kicked you out of the house when you came out. Like, we're just not dealing with any of that. We're just shoving that trauma down. Okay, that's cool.
I've seen too many TikToks. Like, I honestly feel bad for Jo Ellen Pellman, who played Emma, because number one, she's a phenomenal singer. Like, her voice is
she's amazing.
Incredible. I actually think she probably could have done a better job with the role, but clearly the direction was like,
smile.
Hopeless. Yeah, smile. Be hopelessly optimistic through this entire thing. And that also is not realistic.
It's not, it's just
like,
not
I understand.
realistic.
And it's so hard. I'll go back and forth, but because I understand, okay, if you're a person who like doesn't like to show that you're upset, you know, you sort of just put on a happy face because that's what you've always done because life has been hard. Like, I also understand that. But there's like a difference between pretending to smile to get through everything and being happy.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was just like,
yeah. Look, you can be happy for your girlfriend if their parents come around and yours haven't yet. It doesn't look like that smile. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, the biggest problem with the prom, obviously, is the fact that, I mean, we've had this conversation, you and I, without mics in front of our face already, Ellie, but it's, you know, how do you write a musical about the completely oblivious stars who can't see that the story of this lesbian is not supposed to be about them, and then write a musical about them.
That is not about the lesbians.
That is not about the lesbians in any way, shape, or form. It's just weird. It's weird to me that somebody did that. I will never get over the fact that you have a line in your musical where one of your characters says, yeah, we read 3/4 of a news article and we had to come down. And I'm convinced that they read 3/4 of a news article about the original story and were we have to write a musical about these other people who are going to come save the lesbian and their stories and their redemption arc. And you're like, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
That's a choice.
I wish so much that the musical was actually about lesbians. Like, it's sold as a musical about lesbians that's like literally about Meryl Streep. And Meryl was great.
Yes, and I love her. But imagine if someone had written the prom, like, primarily told from Emma's point of view. Like, Emma's story, and then these weird Broadway actors show up and keep trying to hijack the spotlight, but, like, the story's clearly not about them. It's about Emma. That's a wildly different musical, right? And that would center the queer story and the queer character and highlight the absurdity of these people trying to make this story about them in ways that they didn't do.
Yeah, except you actually just give them the spotlight. Yeah.
Right. It's a weird choice that I still don't understand. So
yes. But I do hope that, because I do know there are a lot of queer people who felt seen by the prom, and so I do want to still acknowledge that is still valid. And I do think, I wish that the musical was just the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the last 20 minutes, I was like, yes, I feel seen and validated. But, like, everything before, I was like, wait, what?
And also, like, we've spoken to people who, like, have lived that story, you know? Like, this is not a very far removed story, like you said. And so I do know that there are people who feel like they relate to the story that's being told, and that's fine and great. It's not that the story is bad or wrong in some ways. It's just, you know, again, it is, I feel like we're towing this line where it's like there's so much more representation, and we, honestly love most of it. But again, if you're going to start seeing all of these storylines, like, I think it is important to look at them with a critical eye sometimes, especially when you're looking at the ones that, like, the younger generation of queer people are watching and finally seeing as role models, you know?
Yes.
Because I think for a long time, like, queer people haven't had that. We haven't had anything to look to when you look and say, hey, if I dream of a life and a family and a relationship someday, what does that look like to me? You know, like, you have to have something to look to as an example. And so as we're starting to create more and more of these examples, I do think, you know, it's at least worthwhile to say, what are the takeaways here? And are there things that, like, not even are they problematic and we should stop doing them, but are they problematic and we should have a couple more options in the mix of what you're showing, you know? That's all we want to say. That's what we're going for.
And I'm very happy that we have more options that we can.
Oh my God, yes.
That we can just dissect for hours and talk about all the things that we find wrong with them and then say we love them. Because that's how we are as lesbians who consume media.
Yes.
We watch it, we talk about it for years, and
we have so many strong feelings.
And that in itself is honestly a beautiful bonding experience for us as a queer community. So please keep giving us things we can tear apart, because it just makes us closer, you know?
Look, what do we love more if not processing? Nothing.
Exactly.
This is our jam.
Is the benchmark for a good queer movie a movie that the gays never stop talking about?
I mean, Happiest Season is the best movie ever made in that
Exactly.
Groundbreaking.
It was actually the best thing that happened in 2020 because of all the discourse happening around it.
We will never stop talking about that movie. Correct. There's a lot of things we will never stop talking about. You know, I mean, obviously everyone knows we're never going to stop talking about Teenage Bounty Hunters. I have a suspicion we're not going to stop talking about the Wilds for a while. We have a lot of thoughts. That's all. We just need to unload our thoughts on each other and you, listeners. You're welcome for all of them. I feel like people are going to come after this for this episode because I feel like we just sounded negative about everything. We love all of these shows. We love all these movies.
I know. I'm so sorry. I feel
us.
like we said I don't know. I wasn't really sure what was going to come out of my mouth, and then things just started coming out, and I was like, oh, this is not a silver lining.
But they are silver linings. The silver lining is that we have this much to talk about.
True.
Right? That's the silver lining to me. The silver lining is there are so many things out there that I'm actually not afraid to say, hey, here's the thing I didn't love about that one thing specifically, like this piece of it, I take issue with that, you know? Because I feel like we've been so hesitant to do that, and we have gone to bat for shows and depictions and characters who were just like so deeply bad and problematic in the past, you know? Because you felt like you had to because it was the only thing there, right? And I feel like now, like, there's so many options that it's like, you can totally sit back and be like, hey, look at this collage of things in front of us that we had last year. And here are some of the things I liked. Here are some of the things that I, like, you know, didn't love, or like, I'd love to see something different. You know, like, Generation Q, man, I'm sorry. Season 2, give me something different.
Yes.
Like, just one. It doesn't have to be everything. I'm not saying like all of your characters suddenly wake up tomorrow and know how to like have a healthy functional relationship, but like maybe one person grows and learns. Just one.
Just one.
Just one. How is the healthiest relationship in your show? Angie.
Oh my God, Angie. You're right.
I'm like,
that
she's
was
16.
really cute and sweet.
It
See,
was
there
cute
is
and
positive.
sweet. But also, it worries me because I'm like, Angie is basically existing in this world where what is Angie's role model of continuing to have a healthy relationship as she grows up, right? Like, non-existent.
Oh my God.
Non-existent.
Bet Porter as your sole relationship role model.
Can you imagine?
Oh God. And to be fair, I love Bet. I would sleep with her in a minute, but healthy relationship, we would not have.
Here's the problem. I love all of them and also hate them all. Especially Finley.
that,
Sorry.
no,
I'm
I'm
so
kidding.
sorry. I do love Finley, but also I hate Finley.
Yes.
Same with Sophie. I just hate a lot of people in the show is the problem, okay?
It's fine.
It's fine.
To wrap up, there's a lot of queer content in 2020. We are hoping that 2021 will have even more content for us to dissect and invite guests on to talk about. And just, if you keep the gay content coming, we will keep the podcast talking. So we need this.
Help us help you.
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick, what were your top three positive moments of TV rep in 2020?
Oh, moments? Ooh, moments is going to be tough.
Favorite moments, doesn't have to be positive. Just what were your top three favorite moments of 2020 TV?
Okay. Oh, this is so hard. I didn't come prepared for this. Okay, give me a second.
All right, I'll start. Okay, the Deadbolt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. The Teenage Bounty Hunters.
The Teenage Bounty Hunters.
I got you.
Deadbolt.
That is a good one.
Number one.
Now you're gonna steal all the best ones, and I'm gonna have to work harder.
Let me try to do like medium ones. Okay, the poly sex scene Generation Q.
Oh, I love them.
Shit. And Daniel and Patrick's wedding.
Oh, that's such a cute one.
You're welcome.
Oh, you picked such good ones. Fuck. Okay.
Bly Manor's still up for grabs. I didn't do that.
Okay, no, I know, and I have to pick a Bly Manor one. Okay, Bly Manor. I'm going to go with. Oh God, I'm going to go with the cute domestic scenes of the two of them and the marriage proposal with the rings where we can't get married but will know, like that.
So, yes.
Ugh, just
dead.
Okay, I'm gonna pick that one as my Bly Manor scene.
That was beautiful.
I'm going to pick the Shelby and Tony having the conversation up on the bluffs scene. And here's why.
Conversation?
Yes, not them having sex, when they talk about it after, when they're like up on the cliff, right? And here's why. Because despite the many problematic things about both of these characters, and they are both, teenagers, it was a very healthy discussion. Like, it was a really good conversation for Shelby to come up and say, you are a passionate person who is having no emotional response to this, and that makes me feel like you don't care, right? I think that was a very, grounded way to approach that conversation, which, realistically is probably the least realistic thing for a 17-year-old to do in that case. But I liked it as an example. And I liked Tony's response of, I just think they both explained how they felt, where they were coming from, why they were thinking or feeling the way that they were. And I liked Tony's response equally of saying, how could I be scared about something that could be good after we've literally experienced hell, right? I just think that's a great scene to me. I loved it. I love what it modeled. So I'm going to go with that as my second one. And my third one, oh, this is so hard.
I know.
Okay. My third one, I'm going to go with April Stevens proudly declaring that she is a lesbian, that God made her that way, and she is cool with it, and God is cool with it, and she knows this about herself, knows that she only crushes on girls, and just being like totally confident in it, because that I think was huge, and I think was something that you just don't see. I can't think of a time where I've seen that specific situation depicted that way. So okay, those are my three. Oh, that was so hard.
Good choices. I love how Teenage Bounty Hunters is on both of ours.
I know, right? I can't let you take it just for yourself.
Right, you're right.
Share
Such
the
a good
love.
show. All right. I think it's time.
Okay, let's do this.
Q and gay.
Q and gay.
Okay, let's do this, Ellie. Question 1. Who do you think and or hope Sophie was running to in the airport? A, Danny, or B, Finley?
I gotta be honest. I know
Don't do
you
it
hate,
to me. Don't do it to me.
I know you hate Finley. I don't hope it's Finley, but I think
it
it's
is.
Finley.
I'm going to say, actually, I agree. I think it's Finley, and I think it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like, yes, I really want it to be Finley, but I just feel like that's what the season was leading us up to believing. So I would be surprised if it was Danny. Also, I would feel, I feel horrible. I'm like, let me answer this question in 30 minutes. I feel horrible for Danny either way.
Whole second episode on this question.
Even if Sophie did run to Danny, I don't want them to get married because we know what happened with her and Finley. So I would feel horrible, actually, if she was running to Danny because Danny still has no clue what happened. And I don't think Sophie would come clean.
I agree. So it's a problematic situation. There's no good answer.
Yeah, it's rough. All right, question number 2. What tends to be your biggest issue in relationships? A, healthy communication. B, cheating. C, dating toxic people. Or D, being in the 1800s.
I mean, with how our political situations go, and D is a valid option sometimes. But no, I'm going to say healthy communication. And I mean, even in a healthy, committed, functioning relationship, we are still constantly learning how to communicate well with each other. Communication is a constant.
It's hard, yeah.
It has to be something that you're intentionally focused on constantly in order to make a relationship work. So I'm going to say A.
Good choice.
Question 3. What was your favorite 2020 TV moment? Oh, you're going to have to pick just one, Ellie. Okay.
I know.
Out of A, April Stevens saying I'm a lesbian. B, Patrick and Daniel's wedding. C, the Damie proposal in Bly Manor. Or D, the Generation Q threesome.
You know what I'm going to pick? Threesome.
I mean, look.
It was the best sex scene I've ever seen on TV.
I don't think I am ever going to get over the throuple. I'll be honest. Maybe that's why I'm so salty at Generation Q right now. I'm not over it.
Yeah, I really thought... I wish that was the healthy relationship we saw.
The thing is, it was such a missed opportunity to have the only functional relationship in your show be a relationship that took a twist.
That is not conventional.
And here's the thing. Again, we talk a lot about representation. There is not enough poly representation, I think, to tell the story the way that they told it, which I know we didn't even get into in the whole discussion, but I just think it needs to be said. It felt a little lazy to me, and it felt like they tossed it under the bus, and I was really disappointed in it. So,
yep, they set it
just
up for
to get
us.
it out off my chest. I have to say it. I wanted more.
I agree. All right, question number 4. What's your favorite TV relationship trope? A, enemies to lovers. B, friends to lovers. C, cheating to lovers. Or D, love at first sight.
Oh, it's so hard because honestly, I can go for all of them as long as they're done well. Which one is my favorite if it's done well? I do love a good enemies to lovers. If
I knew you were going to go enemies to lovers.
Know,
you
right?
were trying to fight
it.
against your instincts, and you just go with what you know. I knew it.
I'm very picky about it, though.
If it's
Very
the right
picky.
kind. Enemies to lovers, April Stevens version.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do. I'm such a sucker. Okay, let's do this. Ellie, question 5. Who is your most problematic character of 2020? Out of A, Finley, B, Catra, C, Harper, or D, Scylla?
That's such a messed up question.
It's just...
I feel like
we had to do it.
Okay, I feel like the answer is obvious, but also I feel like people are going to come for me again. But it's still Harper.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the thing is, Scylla and Catra have both killed people. And I don't know what it is that's so bad.
You're like, there's murder, and then there's Jane's painting, okay?
Exactly, that's so horrible.
Have you killed someone, or did you refuse to take the short chair? Because really, what's
worse? That's so bad. Oh my God, I feel like I need to retake my answer, but I still can't. Yeah, sorry, Harper.
It's fine. There's no wrong answers in the Q and Gays, Ellie. You know that.
Sorry. Damn it. Wow, those questions were intense. I can't wait for all of you to answer
oh my God.
on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod. This Wednesday, it's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. So we just like to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. And this week we have a couple shout outs, starting with our listener Jacinta, who emailed about a movie that we had not heard about. It's called Same But Different. So we are going to be looking into that because it got a great review. And thank you so much. Please always send us new things like this because this is how we need to hear about it. So we're super excited to check it out.
I'm so excited. We also, I don't know how many times we can thank the Teenage Bounty Hunters fandom, but we will thank you till the end of time. We want to thank the Teenage Bounty Hunters fandom for being so supportive of our episode with Maddie Phillips and our I Want More single. You're all the best. We love you. Lots and
lots. We love you, Hales Hose. You have our heart.
Yes, Hales Hose.
And finally, we also want to shout out someone who reached out to us on our Instagram, Teresita. A, because it was just a cute message, and also because it reminds me that a lot of times when people reach out to us and they're looking for other media things that they can watch, other ideas, other shows, other movies, that we also tend to always point people towards a great resource. And so it's reminding me that I should tell everybody about it, which is leswatchtv.com. A, it's run by really, really great people, and we love both of them, but also it's just an awesome resource. So you can go on. It has a enormous catalog of so many shows and movies that have any sort of queer rep. It will tell you what kind of tropes it has in it, maybe a little overview. Does it have a happy ending? Is it a bury your gays? Like those kinds of things. So it's really great to know a little bit more about what you're getting into or what kinds of things you want to watch and find more of them. So leswatchtv.com. Definitely check it out.
It's very important to know. And as always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Jess Klaus,
Tanya Ferguson,
Danny Griswold,
Jacqueline Rose Nishino,
Sarah and Julia,
Carrie Ann Lawrence,
Danny Gunlock Tamora,
Brittany Ray,
Alana Rosen,
Tara Gleason,
and Lizette Stye.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Hendley,
Liz Chen,
Wendy K. Bartlett,
and Evelyn Smith. Thank you all so much. We always appreciate your support and hanging out with all of you. Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up.
We also have some videos up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch them.
And also remember, you can already subscribe to our feed for The Flame on any podcasting app. That way you'll be ready for new episodes as soon as they start dropping in June.
If you want to support the podcast, you can rate and review us. You can rate and review The Flame as well, which would be very helpful. So we have some 5-star reviews up there before we get started. You can write an honest review on what you think of the trailer, because, you know, it's pretty great. You can also rate and review Let's Hang Out. It helps other people find the podcast and know what to expect.
If you want to check out our merch, we have all of our designs up. You can get them on tees, on totes, on mugs, on masks, on sweatshirts, on all sorts of good stuff. You can find all of them on our TeePublic, and you can get that at bit.ly/let's shop.
If you want to support us financially, you also could join our Patreon at bit.ly/lespatreon. Our Discord chat has been out of control lately as we had so many new patrons join in the past few weeks to hang out with us from the Teenage Bounty Hunters fandom. We see you all. If you want to join us, you can join us at bit.ly/lespatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.